Good morning, Adams County. Today we're going to be talking about time management. And no, for those of you wondering, I don't just mean getting a spice rack. The reason why I want to talk about time management is that when you're first starting in college, it's a very different world from what you experienced in high school in the sense that you are in total control of how you organize and structure your time. So I'm going to go through a couple tips on how to best manage your time in college. First, it really helps if you make a spreadsheet or some type of document that you can put up on your wall that shows what your schedule actually is. Now on this spreadsheet schedule you can put a lot of different things. So you can put your classes, you can put when you have to go to work, you can schedule in time for you to make sure you actually eat your food. You can also schedule in homework time, or on the flip side you can schedule in social time if you're someone that really enjoys doing your homework. Because it is important to have a nice balance of doing your homework and getting that social time in there. So sometimes scheduling both a social time and a homework time is the best way for you to organize your schedule so that you do have a balance between work and your social life. A good option for when you are doing this schedule of yours and you're including homework time, it's really good to include that homework time between classes. So a good option for you is to bring along some other classes' homework that you can do during that time period. Ideally, it shouldn't be for the next class, so maybe for the following day's class, you can bring some assignment to work on during that period. So utilize your free time between your classes wisely, and you can bring these other assignments for other classes with you and work on them then. So that way you don't have to waste time going back to your room, getting your assignment, and then going back to wherever you were. Perhaps the most important part of your schedule is going to be including your bedtime. I highly recommend that you set yourself a bedtime so that way you aren't up until all hours of the night doing your homework. It's really helpful to set that bedtime to keep yourself on track and on schedule. A second tip for you is that it's really helpful if you use the calendar on your phone or if you get a planner of some type. It got to the point when I was in college where if something was on my phone's calendar, I did not question it and I immediately went to wherever it told me to go. So this is kind of a problem if you realize that you're going to be somewhere without your phone, which is why it's really helpful to have your planner. Because not only can you put in all of your homework assignments in there, but you can also keep track of where you're supposed to be if you have certain events to go to that day or anything like that. The third tip of the day is that you always want to schedule time for yourself. So whether this is when you're going to go to the gym, maybe sit down and read a book, listen to some music, or do a hobby of yours, you always want to make sure you include time for yourself in your schedule. It'll help you stay relaxed and stay stress-free, or maybe less stressed than you normally would be. So I highly recommend that you make sure you always give some time for yourself every day. You also want to make sure that you establish a routine. It is super helpful to stay consistent in how you structure your days. So what this means is that if one day you have a class at 9, which means you get up at 7, on the next day where you might not have a class till 10:30 or 11, you should still get up at that same time. Maintaining a constant time for you to get up, maybe you can sleep in a little bit on the weekends, but during the week it will really help you stay on track of your schedule and it'll give you some extra time where you can work on homework so you have more time to go hang out with your friends later. And part of this routine means that you go to bed at roughly the same time too. You don't want to be staying up till 2 or 3 in the morning one night and then going to bed at 8 o'clock the next night. This also means that you shouldn't regularly be pulling all-nighters. They're very bad for you, as you saw in the previous video where we talked about staying healthy in college. It's also a really good idea to make a to-do list. So what that means is that you're going to make a whole list of everything you want to accomplish that day. However, this list needs to be something reasonable. That means you can't put on everything you need to finish that week all on that one day's list. It needs to be something that you can accomplish within the time allotted for you during that day. So that means you're going to have to factor in what classes you have, if you have work, and what available time you have. Building your to-do list this way will help you to feel more accomplished because you're going to find that you're going to be a lot better at managing these tasks and the time given to you than if you try and overwhelm or overbook yourself with different tasks or events. Another tip is going to be use your syllabus. So when you first start each course at the beginning of the year, your professor is going to give you a syllabus, and this is going to be an overall introduction into what your course is, and usually included in there is going to be a reading list or some type of list of assignments. And this will oftentimes include tests and exams as well. So if you get all of your syllabi, put them up on the wall in your room, it's a really easy way to keep track of when assignments are due, and it can help give you a visual representation of when you're going to have really busy weeks or just a really busy chunk of time if a lot of your classes are having exams and assignments and papers due all around the same time period. But by utilizing these syllabi, it does help you to prepare so that way you can stay on track and know what's coming. So that way you can manage your time well, especially when you do have a lot of papers or exams to prepare for. Alright, another tip is to prioritize. So what this means is that you shouldn't be shifting your homework or papers or other assignments to a later time just so you can go and do something fun or go watch some Netflix or binge watch some Netflix, as the course may be. If you have a plan to do something, make sure that you actually do it. You wouldn't just skip an event or something like that to go watch an episode of Netflix. So do try and think about that. If you are planning to do homework, do your homework and then reward yourself by watching Netflix or going hang out with friends. Or maybe watching Friends on Netflix. A super helpful tip is not to procrastinate on your assignments and papers. The longer you wait to do it, the more stressed you're going to become. There was a wise person, or creature I should say, that once said, "What is today but yesterday is tomorrow?" Don't just tell yourself you're going to do it tomorrow. Do it today, you've got the time. Just do it. And lastly, don't forget to be awesome. Alright, Adams County, I'll see you next week.